Today we want to talk about what a project is. And the reason for this is to help us to understand project delivery. So let's look at our learning objectives. Number one, understand the meaning of a project. Number two, explore the unique characteristics of what a project is. Now let's talk about a project for a moment. When you hear the word project, what may come to your mind is around something grandiose. But I want to just try and break it down so that you can understand this, how simple it is. You see, let's say, for example, you want to go on a holiday. You want to go to Disneyland, for example. You have a date in mind that you want to go to Disneyland. You have a budget in mind, how much you're going to spend. You also have the itinerary of what you're going to do. You know, which flight are you going to take? What activities are you going to do on which day? Now, as you can see, you are actually embarking on a task or on an object. You want to achieve an objective, which has a goal in mind, and the goal in mind here is to take your children to Disneyland, for example. Now, that is a project because why? You don't go to Disneyland all the time, so it's a temporary endeavor. Number two, there's a uniqueness to to go into Disneyland. You're not saying you're actually going to Madison Avenue in New York City. You're actually going to Disneyland, which means there's a unique experience that you want to create out of that. And the last thing is, as you're moving towards going to Disneyland, let's say you want to go in summer, and let's say this is January in the beginning of the year, you want to go in the summer. You as you move towards closer and closer towards that day in the summertime that you want to travel, you will know whether you are ready to go or not, because is it that there are plans that you've put in place or tasks that you've put in place with deadlines. Are you meeting those deadlines or not? You will soon know, and you get some sort of feedback. All right, so that's essentially is the easiest way to understand what a project is. So let's not do definition. A project is a temporary and unique and progressive endeavor that is made to produce some sort of kind of a tangible or intangible result. Now, when we talk about tangible, it means something you can touch, like a microphone, or like a bottle. But something intangible is like services, like setting up a new hospice, for example, is a project, but it's not tangible. It's a service that's been rendered. Okay, so in order for you to achieve that project or the objective of which project was being set up, you need to put together a number of tasks that are interrelated, that are dependent one on another. And these are planned for execution. You plan to execute them over a period of time so that you can achieve the objective that the company has set in mind, or the objective that you personally have set in mind. If you go back to the example of going to Disneyland, obviously I mentioned the fact that you have a cost involved. There will be some kind of experience that you want to achieve around the quality. There will be something about performance. Are we doing well? Are we making progress? Are we eating the deadline that we want to eat? All right. So that's the kind of way to really understand a project in a layman terms. So let's go through these three characteristics that we find here: temporary, unique, and progressive endeavor attempt. The first one is temporary. Temporary means that it has a beginning, it has an end. Every single project must have a beginning and an end. If a task that you are embarking upon does not have a beginning and an end, it is not a project. If you have to do it every single day without an end time and end in mind, it is not a project. So a project has a finite start and a finite end. When a project starts, is usually the start of a project, and it is when the project is initiated or the concept is developed. When the end goal is achieved, then the project comes to a finite end. Obviously, if the objectives are not achieved because of one reason or the other, you have to terminate the project. The second point is unique deliverable. What this means is that every single project must produce some sort of tangible deliverable, something that can be measured, something that they can say this is the output that this project is producing. In the case of going to Disneyland, as an example, the output of that is the experience that your family is going to get when they get to Disneyland. You might be you want to have candlelit dinner. It might be you want to, have a swim in the swimming pool or go to on some of these games that they have in Disney World. But essentially, there's an outcome that is unique, and that is what you are producing by going or embarking on that project. So this deliverable that you are producing should address a problem or a desire that is needed to be met by the project before it was started. The reason why the project was conceived must be met. Those deliverables must be fulfilling those needs. Okay. The last point here is progressive elaboration, which means as I began to move towards my goal as I start at the moment I start my project, I must have things in place to ensure to let me know that I'm making progress. For example, how will you know that you're making progress to going to Disneyland and that movement or the progress you're making is actually on track? It's by getting some sort of feedback, right? Essentially, what you need to put in place is put some sort of reporting in place. Now, how do you put reporting in place? Well, you cannot report on what you have not planned for. So you have to first of all put a plan in place. After you put a plan in place, that maybe like week one, this is what we're gonna do. Week two, this is what we're gonna do. Week three, this is what we're gonna do. After you put those plans in place, then the next thing will be for you to now say, okay, how are we doing against this plan? That is where the reporting then comes in place. So progressive elaboration essentially is saying that you must put plans in place. You must report against those plans as you move towards your goal. Now, what is also important with the progressive elaboration is that there will be some phases or landmarks or milestones as you go towards the goal that you can plan for. So let's say, for example, one of your goals is to book your flight ticket by the end of say March of the year if you're going to go in summer. It means that by the end of March, when you get to that point, you must be able to go and check, have we booked our ticket yet? And is are the tickets in line with how much we estimated that we're going to pay for it for them? Essentially that is you're checking feedback against a milestone. Now, if you're going to plan the next set of milestone, for that particular project, you have to go back and say, what did we learn from in the milestone of buying a ticket that we can apply to these future planning or future phases that we're getting into in a project. That's the concept of progressive elaboration. I hope that helps. All right. Thank you very much for your time. I will speak to you another time.